Okay, should be live. Yes, looks like we are. Good morning, everybody. Norman Dixon, first in the house. Good to see you. And hope everybody has had a good Thanksgiving week as we now are officially in what in the United States we refer to as the holiday season. Um, and I gotta say, this is a time of year that I'm a little mixed on. Um, Before we get into the topic of the day, I get a little mixed on this season. Not because I dislike it. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. Love New Year's. The wife's birthday is right at the beginning of January. Our wedding anniversary is December 23rd. So it's a fun time of year for me personally. But I also think about the fact that I know a lot of people get depressed this time of year. A lot of people struggle with this time of year because a lot of people feel particularly lonely. If you are a person who doesn't have a lot of family, doesn't have a lot of friends, this time of year can sting because you're constantly inundated on television and stuff with these commercials showing you how great it is to be hanging out with your family. And to those people, if any of you feel that way, let me tell you this, because for a period of my life, that was me. But I will tell you that even though I enjoy the holiday season, the holiday season is not what they show you in those TV commercials. Never in my life have we gathered around the table, everybody smiling and laughing, and the dog barking, and the birds chirping, and the lights flashing, and everything being so freaking happy and joyful, and just being the most exciting and awesome thing ever. And I think that is a real problem, is that the world of marketing and advertising has set people up to believe that is what we are to expect. It's almost like, in some ways, it's like what some people talk about as far as one of the dangers of pornography, is that pornography sets up this ridiculous expectation of what people think sexuality is like. It's the same thing as like people think that that's what family dinner is like. That's and social media has made this even worse, because now people are doing it themselves, right? Do you really think all your friends that are constantly, do you think your friends are constantly walking down the street like, that's how their lives are? No. And it's just, people are just constantly trying to pretend that their lives are way better than they are, because it's all about these superficial appearances. And to me, it's just aggravating to watch this, because people are putting on more and more facades just to try to pretend that their lives are better than they are. And that just builds up some of the underlying depression and stuff that can make things worse for them in the long term. And, so it's, to me, much more important to have a genuine underlying joy in your life, to have real meaningful relationships with people, than to, be able to pose for a good selfie on Instagram, and I'm sorry. I know that, I might sound like something of a hypocrite because of the fact that I constantly do stuff on YouTube, which is a form of social media, but it's the truth. But at the same time, granted, on YouTube, I am who I am. I don't pretend my life is a bed of roses. When I'm feeling pain, I tell you guys I'm having a rough day, right? And, you can, when I'm doing okay, I say, hey, you know what? I can actually walk around the house without having someone help me up, Woohoo! Victory. So, but it drives me crazy, because we're constantly setting people up to fail. Um, As for the name of the live stream today, I was just thinking about this. It's just one of those things, and to anybody who's been a Christian for any length of time, this is nothing new, I would think. Um, and that is the greatest commandment. It's the simplest thing in the world, and it's the most important thing of Christianity, in my humble opinion. If you know, whenever somebody asks me, well, what do I need to do to be a Christian? I always start right there. I say, well, simple. Um, you want instructions to be a Christian, then, good news, it's incredibly simple. We can go to Matthew 22 and get the whole thing in two verses, really. Well, three verses, actually. Matthew 22:37 through 39, where it says, Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Verse 40 goes on to say, all the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. And what that means in a nutshell is that if you can pull off those two things, you're following the spirit of the entirety of the law and the prophets. And for those of you that don't understand what that means, is that the law and the prophets is pretty much the entirety of the Old Testament. That's the point of the Old Testament. The law is, of course, the books of Moses. The prophets are the words of the prophets that came after Moses. And so if you are able to follow that, bam, you're good, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Now, people say, but wait a minute, there's all these specific rules and regulations and all that. Well, that's where, you start with that, and then you move on and you get into, detail stuff. But that's where you start. Now, loving God should seem fairly straightforward. You can start out with just a deep felt appreciation for existence, the fact that we exist, the consciousness is real, that the world around us is real, stuff like that, an appreciation of life. But the hard part isn't loving God. I find it, even when we struggle, even when you deal with things like the problem of evil and stuff, you can still, even from a secular worldview, you can still come up with an appreciation of life, an appreciation of the simple things of life that bring us joy and stuff like that. That is fairly easy to get past. What's not so easy to get past is loving your neighbor. And now, also, you have to get into, well, who is your neighbor? And it's not in this particular section here, but Jesus does go on in other sections of the Bible to define your neighbor is basically all of humanity. It's not, he does go on to say, who is your, when people ask who's your neighbor, he talks about, he goes into the story of the Good Samaritan, where he talks about your neighbor is not just the person who lives next door to you. Neighbor is not just people who look like you. It's not just people who think like you. It's not even just people who are in the same nationality as you. It is the global population. And that can be extraordinarily difficult when you're talking about loving people who you have significant disagreements with. And sometimes loving people who can't stand you based on ideological reasons or just, fundamental worldview problems, stuff like that. So, for example, in today's heated climate, right, we have And I'll use myself as an example. I got a little upset last week after the stream because people wanted to grill me about the Rittenhouse trial, and we are not talking about the Rittenhouse trial. I'm just saying, and there are some people that have some very passionate and very strong differences about it, and it can be difficult for people that feel that Rittenhouse was a hero versus people who feel that Rittenhouse was a kid who brought a gallon of gasoline to a matchstick party to see eye to eye on things, right? And to love each other. And there's a problem there where you gotta get, that's a difficult thing to get past. And I'm going to address what you just said to Minute Mountains of Elysium, because there's more there to unpack than I think you meant. But I mean, that's a funny line, but yeah. And so, and you think about it, like you have, for example, people that, right now in the United States, the whole country has been increasingly divided over things like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. And people are basically on the verge of total and absolute hatred of each other as opposed to loving each other. And these are the exact people, and I don't care which side of the fight you may be on, if you are on a side of that fight. Think about the people on the other side of that fight. Those are the people you're supposed to love. If you're a Republican, say you're a Trump supporter, then you need to love Biden. If you're a Biden supporter, you need to love Trump. That's hard to do. That is really hard to do. And I'm not going to lie, I struggle with it just as much as anybody else. And so, and it's been difficult. Living here, I'll tell you, and I know this is something that, I'm going to embarrass the wife a little bit, but I know she struggles with this a little bit. People in Tennessee are, and it's amazing. It is truly amazing. People in Tennessee are the worst drivers on the planet. I mean, absolutely worst. And one thing that's a problem with my MS and stuff, I struggle driving. I'm having, I'm struggling doing almost anything physical. And so my wife has to do more of the driving nowadays, and I hate putting that burden on her, but she's been a real trooper and stepping up, and I so appreciate it. But it's very frustrating for her driving in with these idiots, right? And how difficult can it be to sit there with an attitude of love when you look around and these people are cutting you off? These people are, you like look on YouTube and do a search real quick of brake check videos where people will literally pull in front of you and then hit their brakes just to try and cause an accident so that they can get the insurance money, right? That people will do that kind of crap. And you are called to love these people, even if they are attempting to commit fraud against you, even if they are trying to harm you. You are called to love them. And not only that, remember this. And CD, yes, worse on the planet. Trust me. You think I'm exaggerating. You think, you don't know what you're talking about. Come to Middle Tennessee, drive around. Not necessarily like they're not mean drivers, like they're not aggressive drivers like you get on the West Coast in New York. They're just incompetent drivers. But anyway, I lost track of what I was saying. But it's just so hard to stay focused on that. Oh yeah, and absolutely, Stanley. That's why you maintain a safe following distance and all that. I mean, fortunately, you got to be careful of that. But those, it can be very difficult if oh yeah, that's what I was saying. If somebody's trying to scam you, what does the Bible say you do? Right? The Bible does address that specifically. And a lot of people don't want to deal with it. People are like, oh, I'm going to fight that. No, you know what the Bible says to do? If the Bible says, hey, if they sue you for your shirt, give them 2. That's what the... Ah! How hard is that to do? Right? Does anybody do that? Nope. Right? No, nobody does that. So that's so that's it's tough. It is tough. All right, so Norman says good. I'm going to go to the chat now, and we'll discuss and let the conversation go where it will. Norman says good morning. Mountains Elysium says greetings. Stanley says keep it civil this morning. I certainly hope so. Aberjam says good morning. How you doing, Aberjam? 47 Yorktown says greetings from Eastern Canada. How you doing? Let's see. Mountain says Martok was changing. Mama praise a saint, and Sassy is not fat. Well, Martok was a changeling when he said, Hail Karoga. Mom, oh, pray, is a saint, but, sorry, Sassy is just a little chunky. Aberjam says, howdy to Mo. Tresson says, top of the morning. How you doing, Tresson? Captain Trek says, hello. How you doing, Captain? Mountains Felicia says, considering how many takes and filters my wife uses for taking Christmas photos of events, seeing the outcome, I know very well how differently it actually was. Not bad, different. Mountains Alicia says, I have found that rules and regulations are there only to help you with those 2 commandments in Matthew. If they get the, let's see, in Matthew, if they get in the way, they should be ignored. Just as Jesus did. Well, you have to be careful about saying that, though. There are commandments that once you understand them, you cannot ignore, right? And then there are commandments, because these are commandments of God, right? And that's why, like Christ Himself says, "If you love me, you will keep my commands." If you once you understand God's commandments, you should have them on your heart. You should follow them, right? But there, as far as there are some commandments that and this is where you have to be able to understand what a nuanced study of the Bible is. There are some commandments that do have, quote unquote, an expiration date on them. There are commandments that were there for specific times, for specific people, etc. And the problem is that some of that can be difficult to understand, and some of that you really need to do a deep dive to understand. And some of that is specifically laid out in the Bible, like, for example, the fact that the food prohibitions is actually specifically addressed by Christ Himself. The Bible commands you to love your neighbor. It never said you have to like them. Okay, so that's one that you mentioned. No, it doesn't say that you have to like them, but yes, you do have to. You know what? You're not going to be that the problem is that you're talking about letter versus spirit of the law. You absolutely have to like them. You absolutely have to treat them with kindness. You absolutely have to be, you don't, loving does not mean you're going to, loving is not, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but my attitude about you is, I don't like this guy, but I'm going to do this because I love him. It's not like your sister or your brother that I love them because they're my brother or my sister, but man, I can't stand being around them. No, that's not, I'm sorry, that's not the right attitude. You need to be able to, warmly care about these people. And it's difficult. That's the point. It's supposed supposed to be difficult. And
Spice must flow.
Goat $3. I am the goat thy goat, thou shalt not have any goats before me.
thank you, Goat. I know that Joseph is in the house, and I think I did not put the alert box on top, so let me move that. But thank you, Joseph, my goat benefactor. By the way, Joseph, oh man, I meant to have it here on my desk so I could show you the next time you came onto a live stream. So Lil T'Pring, who is asleep right now, we gave her first bath the other day, and the shampoo we used is made with goat milk. So we thought about you.
Spice must flow.
And
Judge_bird $3. Official Care Organ lawsuit. You are being sued for 1 Doomsday Machine and 2 Eagle Morse ships you feel to be the best of your collection, and $1.50.
Okay. Well, you can sue me all you want there, Bird, but of course, since I'm in Kurdistan, you'll have to sue me in Kurdistani court. So good luck with that. Anyway, so we do have to and I don't know how much your tongue was in your cheek for that comment, as far as the love versus like, but we do have to treat them like someone we genuinely care about, not just love them out of obligation. If we're only loving them out of obligation, then we're not really loving them. And I think that's important to think about. And let's see. Mountains of Elysium says, I believe that you are not, that you have not met some of the drivers in Europe. Well, that's true. I've never been out of the, okay, so I'll say this. Worst drivers in the United States. How's that? Bird of Prey says, maybe they're incompetent because they have their own pain issues. That could be. If so, I would say Tennessee has got a lot of pain issues. And Cat Trek says, I told you yesterday about the day in December. I forgot that I give up. Wait, I told you yesterday about a day in December. Forgot that I give up on morning brew. I told you yesterday about a day in December. Forget that I give up on morning brew. Wait, what? Why are you giving up on morning brew? Morning brew is like a tradition now. You can't just give up on morning brew. Everybody loves morning brew. You can't. No, you can't give up on morning brew unless, if you are going to give up on morning brew, then somebody else is going to have to do morning brew. Mounds of Elysium says, I was sued by an a-hole driver, made a false claim that he'd been hurt in an accident, told me he did a dance in front of me and said he felt a claim. He got over 100K. You know, that's why if I ever get another car, I'm going to get a 360 dash cam kind of thing, because I do not trust people. I'm going to try to love people, but I don't trust people. It's really difficult to be clear. So few characters. When I mentioned Jesus ignoring the law, it was dietary and curing people on the side. Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be careful when you say, oh, well, if it gets in the way, ignore it. Well, no, if there's precedence in scripture that law is no longer applicable, then you can ignore it. But that's why a good study of scripture is but you start with those verses in Matthew, and then from there you begin to learn what the commandments you're supposed to follow are. Jordan says, hey, from the Gorilla family. How you doing, Jordan? BK says, good morning. Been a few days. Baloney in my life right now. I'm sorry, BK. But, I'm really, really hoping that this Friday, I don't know for sure, because I haven't talked to Matthew in a few days. I know, holiday weekend, and Amy being, with her broken ankle and stuff. So I don't know how things are going with Matthew's family. I'm genuinely hoping we're going to be able to do movie night this Friday. and because I've been working so hard on the Day of the Dove remastered thing, but yeah, to kind of kick off the holiday season, but we'll see. Goat shampoo, that is a new level. Indeed it is. Tristan says, I've heard it said, if you don't like a person, start acting like you do, and you will slowly start to like them. I've always liked that saying. It's actually true, Tristan. It's an interesting phenomenon. You can train yourself. You can train your emotional disposition. And that's because and this is where I've talked about this a long time ago. When arguing over free will, I got into it with an atheist about this once, about free will versus determinism, because one of the factors about free will is that they say, well, you can't choose your personal preferences, right? For example, you cannot choose whether you like chocolate or vanilla. And I argue that yes, you can. You cannot choose whether you like chocolate or vanilla more right now. Like right now, like I personally like chocolate better, right? So I can't choose whether I like chocolate or vanilla more right now. I like chocolate better. But what I can do is train myself to like vanilla. And it might take months or even years, but I can train myself to like vanilla more. The only thing I can't do is like train myself to not be, say, allergic to something. Like if I'm allergic to peanuts, I can't train myself to not be allergic to peanuts. But I can train myself to prefer one flavor over another. Same thing like, people who have preferences for, say you have a person who is for women who likes large breasts versus large butts or something, right? And you can change your perspective on that, right? So taste can change. Yeah, Dr. Daystrom says, tastes change, so do attitudes. Absolutely. And so that kind of thing can absolutely change, and you can train yourself to change it. And choose to change it. And so, yes, preferences can be changed. Now, people don't like that sometimes because then you start getting into sexual preferences and people are like, wait a minute, But, hey, I'm not going to even get into that conversation. And let's see. When I say love, even when you don't say like, let's see. When I say love, even when you don't like, I won't go out of my way to hurt that person. I would help out if you asked, but I would never like or trust that man, a-hole driver. Well, I think there's a difference between like and trust, though, because I can like someone I don't trust. And I can trust someone I don't like. So, maybe we have a different definition of the word like. I don't know. Random Meta says dash cams are illegal in Austria for insurance purposes, required in Russia. And you Europeans are freaks. BK Dan says, I don't blame you on not trusting most people because most of you are terribly intelligent with their decisions. Yeah. Dr. Daystrom says, tie-in, does the observation that Trek after TOS was more secular, does the observation that Trek after TOS is more secular than, say, maybe other sci-fi shows? I don't know more or less than other sci-fi shows, but definitely more secular than, TOS. It's hard to say, like, if you compare, was later Star Trek more or less secular than, say, Stargate, or Babylon 5 or whatever. I don't know. It depends, because you might say, well, Babylon 5, they address religion. Well, they address religion on Deep Space Nine. TNG was definitely very, very secular, especially the first couple of seasons. But Deep Space Nine wasn't at all, because Deep Space Nine, the Bajoran religion was front and center. Robert is in the house, says good morning, and Stanley says, for instance, Salty likes Pringles. Indeed. The Pringles at one of our local stores right there was buy one, get one free. So I like to take advantage of said deals. I do not like determinism. On the other hand, free will is just a concept that doesn't necessarily apply in every situation. Well, I think free will is self-evident, but that's a whole other bag of worms, my friend. The problem is, I think that debating it is silly, because I do think that, I think the free will is 100% subjectively self-evident. I know with absolute certainty that I have free will. I have no idea if you do. And if you don't, so maybe you are a mindless robot, right? And so if you don't have free will, then there's no way I'm going to ever convince you that you do. Maybe I'm the only one that does. That's possible. But I know I do. And I am absolutely convinced that I do. And there's no way you're going to convince me that I don't. And if I have free will, then free will exists. And Random Menace says, I prefer larger butts on women than larger boobies on men. Well, I'll agree with you on that. Norman says, I choose to be a changeling, but if I hear James D. Kirk, I'm running away. Okay. That's a fair thing to do, I suppose. Most changelings do tend to die in the presence of James D. Kirk. BK says, feel yourself, free is the best four-letter word. Well, free is definitely the best price. I didn't hear, at least, I don't know if you're still here, Captain Trek. Tell me what's going on with the morning brew, buddy. You gotta tell me. Is there a reason you're talking about are you discontinuing the morning brew, or are you reducing the morning brew? You gotta tell me what's going on. Don't just say I'm giving up and not say anything else. Come on. Your family here. You can't just drop a bomb like that and disappear on me. If you're still here, I want to know what's going on. Lord M says they do not use money in Star Trek. Just wonder, how do they understand the concept of money? They don't use money. Well, they do use money. They just try to pretend they don't use money. When Picard said that in First Contact, he was full of crap. Picard saying, oh yeah, the economics, blah, 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 blah. By the way, I own a vineyard in France, and I have Romulan slaves, whatever. Jason, how you doing? Morning. One of the hard things comes from the fact the generic word love used in translation. That is always a issue. Well, biblical translations can be an issue no matter what. If you don't have things like concordances and stuff like that, it can, man. There's very, I would love to see a truly accurate translation of the Bible, but no, for some reason nobody wants to do it. Like one of the things that it drives me crazy is the word hate, as it's used in the Old Testament in particular. But like where it's Jacob and Esau, where it talks about, oh, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. And when you say, wait a minute, God hated Esau? But I thought God was love. How could God have hated Esau? And then that's even reiterated in the New Testament. Paul writes about, how God hated Esau. And that verse was then actually co-opted by the Westboro Baptist Church. And so the basis of their whole God hates gays and God hates Jews and God hates the United States is all based on that verse. Because I know this because I actually spoke to members of the Westboro Baptist Church when they were in Portland, Oregon, to ask them where did they get all this this God hates crap. And so let's see, 6-0 at all. I am a loser and Morning Brew is dead. Well, first of all, Captain Trek, I'm not sure I follow the first part of your sentence. 6-0 at all. I'm not sure what you mean, but you are definitely not a loser. Okay. You are a member of this community, and you're a member of this community that a lot of people care about, a lot of people know, and if nobody cared about you, I mean, come on, people show up on your show all the time. I see, and look, none of our shows are huge, right? And we're the, whatever you want to call us, the nerd community or whatever. We're a small little corner of the internet. So if, like right now I have 22 people watching. Last time I came onto your show, you had 15. So that's comparable. And so stop beating yourself up, Captain. I think that, you're not giving yourself enough credit. And I think that a lot of people enjoy stopping by the brew and, stopping in for some conversation. If you don't want to do it, I totally understand that. But and so if you're not having fun, if you genuinely just don't want to do it, maybe take a break, bow out for the holidays, whatever you want to do. I understand, but because I understand this can be very frustrating sometimes, but don't just think, oh, everybody hates me. It's no, because you are definitely loved in this community. A lot of people care about you. A lot of people want to see you continue on because you are a staple of the community. And I mean that. I'm not saying that just to be a nice guy, because you and I have had our differences. And if I thought you were being a jerk, I would tell you. And I'm only telling you that, look, you built up your own independent community of me. I pop in on the brew every now and then, but most of the time you're doing just fine without me. And I lurk on the brew every now and then just to see how you're doing. Because, I don't want it to be, it's not about me. And so seriously, the brew is nice as a nice morning diversion, and maybe part of just a thought here. Maybe set a schedule for yourself, because sometimes you're going for 6-7 hours every day. Bring it back, dial it back a little bit. Maybe just do it from 6 to 8. Just a little bit more manageable. If it's burning you out, because we all go through periods where we're like, oh man, I'm doing this too much. We all go through periods like that. So dial it back a bit, so where, okay, I'm not going to kill myself doing this, because it's not worth killing yourself over, but keep your presence there. But I don't want you disappearing, okay? Because when people disappear, then all of a sudden, everybody, 6 months from now, I was like, remember Captain Track? Whatever happened to him? And nobody knows. And then, and then we all scratch our heads and wonder whatever happened to him. All right? So please, I want you to seriously consider that, okay? Seriously consider that, my friend. And you know me, Captain Track. You know how I feel. And so, oh, I see you were talking to 6. That's why I was confused. That's why the nothing 6 nothing at all. Wow, I'm an idiot. But seriously, Captain. I'm sorry, I know I'm derailing here, but, Captain Trek is an old friend. And if you don't care about Captain Trek, well, the heck with you. No, I'm not. I love you guys, but Captain Trek is an old friend of the channel. He goes way back. And for those of you that don't know, Captain Trek and I sometimes fight like cats and dogs, but at the same time, he's a good guy, a lot of opinions, and he's gone through some highs and lows in his life online, and just trying to be encouraging with a kick in the butt sometimes. Yeah, where was I? If we have no free will, it would seem to me it would make little sense for us to be programmed to discuss whether or not we have free will. That would be kind of funny. But, I also think that I think there's more to it than that. I think that because if we have no free will and there's no God, there's 2 different versions of no free will, right? There's divine no free will, which would be kind of a Calvinistic view, and then there's a secular no free will. And it could do an entire series of discussions on the difference between them. Let's see. And Jason says we just all have to learn Koine Greek. Yeah, that's going to happen. I'm sure. BK says hate is a word reserved for vanilla ice cream. Well, what I was going to say about the hate. So all those verses that the Westboro Baptist Church uses about hate and stuff. So here's the irony of all that, is that the proper translation of what's translated to the word hate in those particular verses is loved less. And so, unfortunately, it became hate because it's just more efficient to write it that way. PK says hate. I already read that. Let's see. And 6 says 6 is my name. Yeah, I get it. I was just being an idiot. Morning brew is my afternoon ritual. # save the brew. There you go. And Stan Lee says our church probably gets 15 people attending some days. Jay says, to me, Cat and Track Bird of Prey, I greatly enjoy catching all your streams when I can. If you need to take a break, that is better than just giving up. Agreed. BK says, Salty Checker is right. Holy crap. See, people are agreeing with me. Captain Trek, everybody's agreeing with me. You know that there's something wrong when everybody's saying, I agree with Salty Trekker, okay? So when everybody's saying, everybody's agreeing with me, then you better listen. Some people just stop by for conversations. And assume it's not easy getting a big crowd 7 a.m. on weekday mornings. That's true, too. BK says, agree with Salty Checker. Step back, recharge instead of leaving. You may feel better afterwards. Agreed. Captain Trek says, well, that's a surprise. Thank you. I'm leaving now so the conversation can get back to something good. No! All right, so those of you that know Captain Trek or have contacts with Captain Trek, if he has left, I'm assuming because he says I know he gets into look, and so I'm assuming he's left since he says I'm leaving now. So if he's actually left, I'm going to talk as if he's actually left since he said he's leaving. So Captain Trek, sometimes he does get into these very depressed modes, and he's done it before. And I'm hoping that he will pull himself out of this, but I know these are difficult times for him when he gets depressed. So anybody, and I mean anybody that has his contact information, whether it be on any way that you contact him, whether it be on Twitter or Skype or whatever, or however you may talk to him, please, if you have a way to message him, send him a message, encourage him, let him know you're thinking about him. We need to, send him a hashtag save the brew, whatever you can do to let him know that we are thinking about him, that we do want him to continue on. I can't promise anything, but I will try to step up and do some morning live streams while I see him not doing it. But I certainly understand. Yeah. And I will tell you, I am definitely no stranger to depression. I have, especially this last year. And Six, you said this for your first time on my channel, which is funny. My daughter had a guinea pig named Six. But getting like when I got the diagnosis of MS and stuff like that, that stuff hits you like a ton of bricks, and it changes your life. And right now, we're just trying to figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? What is life going to be like? Dealing with stuff like that is real stuff. And I know that Captain Trek's gone through some serious stuff too. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to diminish any of that, because Captain Trek, just so you guys know, has gone through some very serious health issues, and he's been through hell. And so we need to, for those of you that are believers, I ask you to keep Captain Trek in your prayers. And I will also ask you, if you have his contact information, to send him a word of encouragement, because I think he needs it right now. I do think the Morning Brew provides a service for a lot of people. It's a nice little springboard for people to hang out and talk. And it's also, it's just a little corner in the community where people get to blow off steam. And I like that and I know this sounds silly, I like that I'm not a part of it. And the reason I say that is because I know that I can be a divisive figure sometimes. I'm very opinionated. I talk a lot. And Captain Trek is very passive in the way that he hosts. And so he lets people, converse. And because of that, people get more into it, and that's why he's a better host for that type of show, where he basically sits back, lets people have the conversation. But I will try, if he's going to step back from the brew for a while, I will try to step up and have a salty shuts up stream or something where I'll just let you guys talk, and I'll try to be quiet while I'm working on stuff. And that way, unless somebody asks me a question, I'll try to be quiet, and see what happens. And Captain, if you're listening, I'm only going to do that until you are ready to bring the brew back. And because I want you to bring the brew back. And so I'll probably call it like burnt coffee or something. Anyway, let me read a little bit more chat and then we'll wrap things up. And then I will tell you guys, so I've been working, because of Matthew's wife's convalescence, I've been working hard on that Day of the Dove. And 6, let me tell you, since you're new to the channel, one thing that I do around here on Friday nights, that's the fun time around here, is Friday nights. Friday nights at about 9:30 p.m. Central Standard. I know it's late, but that's when the real fun begins. We have movie night with Matthew. And so after the kids are in bed, you grab some popcorn, you sit down, and we watch a movie. And usually the movie has some changes made to it. And usually the changes are very minor. I do like little stupid edits to as little jokes in the middle of the movie. And we've been watching the Star Trek films and stuff. And what we do is on YouTube, we stream us reacting to the movie. And then we send a link to a private screening room if you want to watch the movie with us. So there's actually, if you're doing that, you would want to watch the movie. You'd have to have 2 browsers open if you're on a computer, or you could be streaming it on 2 different devices, however you want to do it. And this particular, the next movie night, because Matthew missed the last one, which was actually the week before Thanksgiving. So I've had 2 weeks off from movie night because Matthew's wife hurt herself. So I've been putting way too much work into this. And we usually do a short feature before the movie. The short feature is Day of the Dove, the original Star Trek episode. And I've been putting so much ridiculous work into it that when Kirk and Kang in Day of the Dove fight with swords, I'm turning the swords into lightsabers, and it's just going to look ridiculously cool. And so hopefully I'll have it done by Friday. I know it sounds silly that I've been working on it for almost 3 weeks, and I'm hoping that it'll be done on Friday, but that's how much work I've been putting into it. It's so good that I'm going to make like a documentary out of it and post it on YouTube. I don't care about the fact that they'll copyright strike it. Anyway, Robert says, a couple weeks ago here on YouTube, I think it was done by Elysium's Films, I watched a very terrible, very unbelievable movie called Moby Dick on par with Sharknado. Well, I've not seen that particular version. Oh, Asylum's Moby Dick. I don't think I've seen their version of Moby Dick. Norman says, to be in Ken Trek, I was on a live stream the other day, a friend's small channel. He's a professor of astronomy, one of the biggest flat earthers on YouTube, showed up on a live stream. That's funny. Lord M says, how many children did Mary have with Joseph after the birth of Jesus? Imagine Jesus was your older half-brother. Imagine how many fights you could win with playground as a kid. Yeah. Oh man, that would be awesome. 6 says, I'm fascinated by flat earthers. I find, honestly, flat earthers to be, I don't know. They're interesting, but I know a couple, and I'm just not convinced. And I apologize. I don't know if Darren's out there right now, but and this is not meant as a personal attack, because Darren, who most of you guys know who I'm talking about, Darren, is an incredibly intelligent guy. And I would never, I will say mean things about Darren occasionally, but I will never say he is anything but one of the most intelligent people I've ever known. And by far, he is much smarter than me. And Darren, the problem I have with his flat earth stuff is the simple fact that he is so much more intelligent than me, and yet he believes the stuff that is so demonstrably false that I question his sincerity with it. And I know that makes him angry and upset, but I have to question it because I see certain aspects of flat earth and I'm like, well, but wait a minute, this clearly just plain old disproves it. Like the idea that and one thing I put on a video that I challenged with it. Why is it that say during a full moon, if the moon is a sphere, right? Which flat earthers don't deny that the moon is a sphere. So why is it that during a full moon, a person in New York and a person in California looking up at the full moon at the same time will see the same face of the moon? On the flat earth model, that doesn't work. On the flat earth model, because the moon's only like a couple hundred miles away from the earth, the person in New York should be seeing the moon from one angle, and the person in California should be seeing the moon from another angle, which means they should be seeing a totally different face of the moon. But in fact, everybody on the earth always sees the same face of the moon because the moon is so far away from the earth. And so there's definitely some problems there. And the face of the moon is one of them. But I just have a problem because, well, if you're so intelligent that you can, like someone like Darren is, how can you just say, no, not going to worry about that? Okay. What about the fact that, during part of the year, you have 24 hours of sunlight in Antarctica, and 24 hours of darkness at the poles, and then the other time of the year it's reversed? How does that work on a flat Earth model? It doesn't. Right. So the model does not work. Anyway, but it's just a thing. BK says, okay, I love less vanilla. Yes. Mountains Luigi says, I found all people on the planet. I found of all the people on this planet, Westboro Baptist Church is the least Christian. Hard to argue with that. Jordan says, we are in a simulation, and the people who are controlling the simulation are adding different things to the mess with us. Well, I don't buy the simulation argument, but I think it's an interesting argument. I think that I'll say this about the simulation argument. The simulation argument, in a nutshell, is that if, in fact, so if mankind will, if premise one, computers will eventually get to a point where we can run simulations that with sentient programs that would not be able to tell the difference between the real world and the world they're in. Premise two, mankind will not destroy himself before that technology has been developed. If those two premises are true, then we are much more likely to be in a simulation than in the real world. And that is absolutely true. The problem is that I don't believe premise one. I don't believe that it's possible for a computer program to achieve sentience. So, to me, everyone has free will. It's just many choose not to use it. Determinism does not exist only in this world, and it does not exist only in this world, will end, and no one lives in this universe forever. Well, obviously, no one will exist in this universe forever. BK says, Cat Direct has tweeted you and DM'd you. All right, cool. I will check it out after the show. BK says, just tweeted Captain Trek and DM'd him and say the brew awesome. Also watched the other channels, Taste of Armageddon. Kirk was put in the situation because of Kirk was put in that situation because of a Noah of all desk writing bureaucratic after all. Kirk, yeah, I'm not sure why that was completely out of left field. God has already seen all this will happen. It's not determinism. It's our collective free will and all our actions. Because our God does warn us, even though he knows we will ignore it. I don't think that omniscience negates free will, if that's what you're trying to say. The fact of having day and night disproves flat Earth. I think the day and night cycle as it works disproves flat Earth. I'll agree with you there. Mount Elysian says, if the moon were that close, you should be able to get a strong smell of cheese. And Random Menace says, vanilla is universal? Okay. Alex says, Heidi ho, I have arrived. Welcome. Chris has been gone for a bit, but I'm happy to see you in good health. Love the discussion of church life. Well, I wish I could say I was in good health, Chris, but I am unfortunately, well, that's a long story that I'm not going to get into.
Dad,
Yeah,
check your Discord.
Josh, I'm streaming right now, but I will. Thank you. Alex says, what would you like to see in Netflix upcoming Narnia adaptations? They're doing all 7 books. You know, I find it highly unlikely that they're going to do justice to all 7 books. I mean, I've not read all 7 books, but my understanding is like the later Narnia books are going to be very difficult to do well. But you know, here's the problem, Alex, and this is the same problem. Look, I've had this problem. I'm not gonna. Look, I know pot, meat, kettle, right? This is totally me being the pot attacking the Netflix kettle. So I'm not saying I'm not being a little bit hypocritical by saying this. But are they really going to do all 7 books? You know, just like, hey, I tried to do the Borg series and I still haven't finished that, right? Are they really going to do, you know, because, you know, how many times we've been told, oh, we're going to do all of this series, and then they do the first one and it doesn't make a ton of money, and so they don't. You know, what I want? All 7 books done well. That's what I want. I brought up Taste Farm again because Kirk's free will was overridden by said bureaucrat. Ah, gotcha. Okay. I was a little confused. And so, yeah, but yeah, with the you know, how many times, you know, like, do we see, ooh, look, the first, you know, the Universal Monsterverse. Ooh, it's the first movie in a series of movies. Ooh, Ender's Game, the first movie in a series of movies. Ooh, you know, no. You know what? Don't tell me you're doing a series. You know, do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or whatever you're doing for the first one, and then let's see where you go. And you know, because unfortunately, like I kind of like the last attempt, but then they just kind of fizzled out, right? With Prince Caspian or whatever, and I wish that they would just take it seriously and do it. But I don't know. If I think the Chronicles of Narnia are good, but I don't know that the problem is that I don't know that there's a good enough audience there, and I don't know that Netflix is the right platform, to be honest, because you know, with Netflix, I think hurt a lot of their audience with the cuties thing. As far as their Christian audience, I don't know that they're going to necessarily they have a large Christian audience, but I don't know. I don't know what streaming services Christians tend to use, or if anybody's even taken an inventory of that. So, and let's see, gotta wake the Kraken, my son. Mons Felici says the later Narnia books are fantastic. I don't believe, considering how many react to them, that the books will be adapted faithfully. I will still give them a chance. Yeah, see, that's the problem, is that I just don't see, you know, like, would the books be adapted in the way that they're intended? I highly doubt, right? You know, or are you going to get some director that's going to be like, ooh, I know, let's make Aslan into just a lion. You know, forget, he's not Jesus. He's just a lion, or whatever. They're not going to, what if, are they going to, change fundamental, they're going to take out the theology of it and make it into just, Harry Potter. And if they water it down, well, what's the point? Alex says, here's an interesting thought. Which Trek actors would you cast for a late 90s TV movie adaptation of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Can Shatner be Aslan? No, Shatner would make a horrible Aslan. If I were going to cast Aslan from a Trek actor from the late 90s, I would cast Patrick Stewart or Avery Brooks. I want someone with a more, Shatner. Look, I love Shatner. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Shatner. But Shatner's voice coming out of The Lion would, I think, evoke more unintentional laughter than anything else. But I think that Patrick Stewart would be a more dignified Aslan. I think Avery Brooks would be a more powerful Aslan. So I would pick one of those two. Hopefully they follow the books like they did with Series of Unfortunate Events. I would like to see that, but we'll see. If the Earth is flat, it would be easier to visit my Kenya wife family. I would drive there. There you go. Dress says, taking off. I am as well. Take it easy. And, of course, Random Menace says, take care, Rustin, because he's a jerk. So he calls him Rustin. Because that's what Slovakians do. They call Trustin Rustin. Bird of Prey 5 doing Shatner as Aslan would be perfection. Wow. And Mount Felicio says Patrick Stewart's done some of the Narnia audiobooks. They did a fantastic Aslan. There you go. Well, Patrick Stewart is, I'll say this. Not quite current age Patrick Stewart has got a beautiful voice. Obviously I wouldn't let Patrick Stewart do it today because I don't want Aslan going, I don't want Aslan sounding like he's struggling for each breath. But, Patrick Stewart from 10, 15 years ago would be awesome. Norm says the actor playing Ender in Ender's Game was too young. I don't know. I never read the books. How about Marina Sirtis as the White Witch? Yeah, I could see that. What is more likely to be a disaster? Amazon production Tolkien or the Netflix production of C.S. Lewis? I would say probably more likely to be a disaster, probably the Netflix C.S. Lewis, because the C.S. Lewis the C.S. Lewis books are more blatantly Christian, and B, Amazon tends to put a little more care into their major works. And so that's just my opinion. So that's just, I think Amazon knows that they're holding a sacred cow. I think that Netflix just thinks, hey, Christians, look, we got C.S. Lewis. And then they just, because Netflix, they just write blank checks. So that's what they do. Anyway, guys, so I am going to wrap it up there because apparently Joshua did something that I need to check out, and I'm sure it'll be awesome. I think he's working on helping me get stuff set up so that it'll be more than just Matthew's spinning face when you guys make donations. And with that, take care, live long and prosper, Jolan True. And if I have some energy, I will see you guys later. If not, I'm sure I will see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, and in the meantime, yeah, you guys, man, if we do the movie night this Friday, you will be blown away when you see Kang and Kirk with lightsabers. I'm just saying, blown a freaking way. So the boys come back with that show done. I don't know. I didn't watch season 2 because I didn't care for it. That's, if you graphic, and by graphic I mean like violent superhero show, I'll watch Invincible all day long. I thought the boys sucked. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, guys, take care. Have a good one. And Jolan True. And remember to send Captain Trek your words of encouragement and keep them in your prayers and all that good stuff. Oh, and just keep Life with Matthew in your prayers. Amy, because Amy has to put up with Life with Matthew, but more importantly, because she broke her ankle. And his son, Aiden, who is still recovering. Man, Matthew's had a rough week. Hopefully he'll have a better week this week, and we'll see what happens over the holiday season. And eventually I am going to actually sign off, because that's the plan, right? Right? Right.